Members of Congress are pushing for a new law to create national standards for investigators who use cell phone tracking technology. We have an image of one of the devices shown by a stingray. Back in 2014, the Wall Street Journal reported that federal and local investigators were using the technology, which imitates a cell phone tower. According to the Journal, cell phones connect to that device, and then that device can grab information from the phone. The paper reported the feds were using it to find criminals, but were also picking up innocent people's information in the process, which, well, the Constitution says you can't. Since then, the Justice Department changed its policy, forcing its agencies to get warrants, of all things, before using the scanners. Aaron Zitner joins us now. He's the national politics editor for Wall Street Journal. They came up with this. So there's a change in the law. It only took a couple of years.
Oh, no change in the law yet. This is a House panel saying that there should be a law. And in the meantime, until we get to writing the law, using this technology should require a warrant. You should have to go to a judge and show probable cause before scooping up all these cell phone records.
How is it that it doesn't require anything like it requires a warrant?
This is a fascinating story, Shep, and again, as you said, it was Devlin Barrett of the Wall Street Journal who first brought this to public attention 2 years ago. This technology started in about the 2000s, developed by the CIA and used to hunt terrorists. It was used in Afghanistan, it was used in Iraq, and it was very effective. So it went from the CIA to the military, then to the FBI, and again, it's effective, so it filtered down into local law enforcement, and that's where you get the civil liberties concerns. All of a sudden, you're working domestically, you're not overseas, so we have citizens' civil rights here, and you're scooping up thousands of records of people using their cell phones in the normal course of their daily activity, because this technology can weed through all that and target the small number of suspects who law enforcement are looking for.
Is it your sense that Congress and the American people are on the same page on these privacy matters? I know you've gotten a lot of feedback at the Journal.
Well, look, we've just been reminded in Jordan, in Berlin, in Turkey, that there are dangers all around us in the world, and there's this ongoing national discussion of what electronic tools are appropriate for law enforcement to use and where do they cross a line. When it comes to cell phones, it's helpful to think in different baskets of things. Clearly, what you say in the course of a phone conversation requires law enforcement to get a warrant. You know, what the contents of your conversation is one thing. Through Edward Snowden, we had this big conversation about metadata. That is the information in your phone call that's who you call, what number you dial, how often you dial it, what your number is, and how long you talk. Now that, law enforcement by and large has said, does not need a warrant, although that's coming into question. This is a third question raised by cell phone technology. It's where you are physically. It's called geolocation. It's the fact that when you carry a cell phone, you're connecting to cell towers, and that allows people to know where you are physically on the earth, and therefore law enforcement looking for bad guys can use that to come and find you.
There was a time when people were concerned about Big Brother's watch, its glare being too harsh. I don't hear that as much anymore. I figure I won't until people start to become victims of authorities.
Well, this is Congress catching up to the technology, and as you say, maybe it's late, and certainly the American Civil Liberties Union and some of the other groups like the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which argue for privacy rights, would also say it's late. What happened is, as this came into law enforcement, it became more and more widespread, used in airplanes. They put these things in airplanes and fly over large parts of the population, so a lot of people's cell phone calls were implicated. And the FBI started to say, you know, maybe we should get a warrant for these things, and it started to ask its officers to get warrants. The Justice Department said, well, maybe we should have rules for how long you can keep the data that we collect, because there were no rules around that. And some states started to pass rules requiring warrants, but it's piecemeal. Some states don't require warrants, and so this House panel has said, this is our purview, we should step in, we need a national law that sets rules for when you need a warrant, how you establish probable cause, how the data can be kept. So they want one law to cover all levels of law enforcement.
The Journal's help. We'll report on it when it happens. Aaron Zitner, the national politics editor from the Wall Street Journal, our corporate cousin. Thank you, sir.